You know, it's funny, sometimes when people contact me, the first thing they ask is, well, do you do more than country, or do you just write and produce country music? Find that question funny because, number one, I don't know what country music is anymore. The format has grown so much, but people are sometimes kind of surprised to find out that a lot of my success over the years, both as a writer and producer, have come outside of the country world, whether it was pop all over the world, or something rock, or even kind of vintage sounding and things like that. So the answer to that question is yes, I do a lot more than country. Matter of fact, of what I write and produce and the artists that I work with, I would say that maybe only 35, maybe 40% of it is country. The rest of it is pop or rock or alternative. And kind of my litmus test that I use now, you know, when I choose the projects that I produce or even the writers, songwriters that I write with, a lot of it is knowing that I want to explore that type of music, or I like being a part of projects that interest me, that music, that when I hear it in its rawest form, I'm not necessarily hearing a genre, but I'm hearing an idea. And I like to be involved and produce and write a lot of other kinds of music besides just country music. But I do love country music, but like I said, country to me isn't really country anymore. So the answer to that question, again, yeah, I do a lot more than country. You know, with the music formats growing so much and the boundaries are really starting to expand, that, you know, not just with country, but, you know, we've kind of come full circle. You know, back in the 40s and 50s, there were no genres. The radio stations played the best of everything. That could be country, that could be rock, that could be rock and roll. It could be R&B. They played all of it. You know, as a producer, the way that I look at it and the way that I approach it is, I don't believe that it's my job as a producer to tell these musicians what to play. Tell the guy playing guitar, here's what I want you to play, or the guy on piano, here's the part I want you to play, or the drummer, or anybody else that is on the session. I believe, and I've been very fortunate to surround myself with musicians when I'm tracking an album, an EP, or a single. I've worked with these guys for so long that I have kind of a shorthand with them, and we have this language that we know what each other is talking about and what we want. But I also believe that it's my job as a producer to trust the musicians that I put into that room. That's part of being a good producer, is knowing what type of album you're doing, what type of song you're doing, what type of music you're doing, who's gonna fit that the best, and knowing who to call to put in that room. I think that's of the utmost importance. But then when you get those people in that room, you have to trust them. I have been so fortunate with the guys that I use, like David Dorn, Tim Galloway, Tim Dembo, Grady Saxman. I've worked with so many great players over the years, Greg Hill, just so many wonderful people that, in all honesty, are great producers in their own right. They've been on so many sessions and they've played on so many hit records. They know what that sounds like, and they also know what I want. So when you allow those musicians to be creative and you allow them to do what they do best and really open up the boundaries for them and let them explore different parts and do things and be free in the session, I've just always found that I get a better product as a producer when I allow them to be creative, they allow me to be creative, and we actually have a conversation in the session about parts that they want to play or some ideas that they may have. I rely heavily on them. They are professionals. You know, I tell people all the time, if you have a plumbing problem in your house, how many people actually try to crawl into the house and get the PVC pipe and fix it yourself? No, you call a plumber, you call a professional. And when I'm producing a record, I know who to call. And I know the personalities that work well together, the personalities that don't work well together. And I trust them to be professional, and 100% of the time they deliver. So I think that is the biggest responsibility, and what the producer owes the artist and the project that you're working on is to assemble a team of people around it, with the musicians, with everybody that understand the goal of what you're trying to do. I don't think that it's the job of the producer to say, play it like this, play it like that. I know a lot of producers do that. Some of the biggest producers in the world do that. I don't believe in that. I think when you've got 5, 6, or 7 creative people in a room together, why in the world would you not maximize the creativity of each individual and bring that together as a collective? Because I can promise you, when you do it that way, the project's only going to be better. The artist is going to be happy, the record label's going to be happy, or whoever's involved in that process. Everybody benefits, I think. At least that's the way I do it anyway. The second verse, out was perfect. Okay. That's I mean, we get that on the first half, we're good to go. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was the right intensity, it's the right everything. Yeah. You know, songwriting always has and always will be one of my first loves. It's also that thing that you love to hate at times. I can tell that in my own experience, in my own writing career, that I go through these highs and lows, and it often is influenced by what's going on in the industry. And I know this may not be a very popular thing to say, but right now you turn on the radio and I don't hear much substance. I mean, you hear a lot of cliches, you hear a lot of pop culture wording and phrasing and vocabulary that rhymes together, but you know, you don't hear Hotel California anymore. You don't hear songs that just grab you, and that's what made me want to be a songwriter, in all honesty, was listening to those old Journey songs that Jonathan Cain wrote. And I've had the pleasure of working with Jonathan, and he's just as professional as I ever thought that he would be, and he's just as amazing. But when you go back to songs like Faithfully and Don't Stop Believing, you know, all the way through to the Rod Stewart stuff, and through rock music in general, pop music, and even country, especially because country is supposed to be known for our depth of story and for telling amazing stories with melody. And I feel like we've gotten so far away from that at times I have to kind of step back and take a break, just simply because of the fact that I don't feel like I can write or want to write what I'm hearing on the radio. I don't want to write about a girl in Daisy Duke shorts sitting next to the guy, and they go down to the lake and they're at a bonfire and they've all got Fireball whiskey sitting on a tailgate watching the lightning bugs split the midnight sky. Is it picturesque? Maybe it could be, but when it's song after song after song, I just don't hear a lot of originality. And that frustrates me, because I have always wanted to write the songs that I listened to growing up thinking those are amazing. You know, country music used to be that. Some of my most favorite songs are Travis Tritt. Travis Tritt's an amazing songwriter. Why in the world Travis Tritt doesn't have songs on the radio right now, I'll never know. I mean, you could say the same thing for Clint Black. You could say the same thing for Alan Jackson, for Diamond Rio, Shenandoah. So those guys, not only were they great, but you paired amazing voices with great songs. We don't look for that anymore. We look for what's going to please the 12-year-old to 17-year-old kid. And I understand it. That's where the money's at. But as a songwriter, it's just very hard for me to sit in a room and do that and try to be creative, because I don't consider that creative. I don't think when you pull out a rhyming dictionary and you just look for words that rhyme together that also happen to be mixed with and in pop culture, that to me is not being creative. And to me, songwriting is a craft. It is a talent. I don't believe it can be taught to do well. And so I feel like a lot of times that process is completely hijacked and it's taken advantage of. And I have to step back and I have to take a break. And I've kind of done that over the last couple of months, but you know, I'm starting to get revitalized again and wanting to get back in the room with some writers that I love writing with. And you know, I told my wife the other day, I've still got songs in me that I haven't written that I want to write. But they're not going to be, and they can't be, what we're hearing right now. If we can't write a great song, and we can't put that amount of effort into it, and we can't put that amount of thought into it, I'm just at the point in my life, in my career, where I just don't have an interest in doing it. What I'm hoping is that we start to see things come back around and change. You know, it happens. Music, like everything else, is an evolution. I believe right now we're at the bottom of the evolution, and I hope that we're starting to come back up around to where lyrical content matters, stories matter, complete thought and cohesiveness matter, where people want to get back in a room and write great songs and get away from this whole tailgate pop culture bro country thing. And look, I'm not putting it down. It's not for me. Obviously, there's a huge market for that. But as a songwriter, I take it too seriously as a craft and a talent to, in my opinion, waste it on songs like that. One of my most favorite things in the world to do is artist development. And I don't do it that often, and I don't mean this in any way, but it's very rarely that I run across an artist that I think really has it. You know, I think a lot of people approach artist development from a financial standpoint, and they think, okay, you know, we'll be the gatekeeper between the people that want to be famous and actually becoming famous, and they place themselves in the middle and say they can help these artists and do all that. That's kind of not the way that I approach it. I develop very few artists, but when I do, it's artists that I believe in 110%. I believe that my talent, my relationships, my connections can help this artist, but not just to help the artist, but because I believe they are 100% authentic. And those are the type of projects that I like to get involved with, whether it be writing with that artist or producing that artist or helping that artist grow their fan base and really show them how to navigate the music business, because that's what I find that a lot of artists don't really understand is, you know, this dream and this passion all starts with us in our bedrooms at some point with a guitar or a piano or keyboard or something like that. We weren't trained to think about the business, but it is so important that you learn the business side of the music business, because the minute that it goes beyond your bedroom door and you want to play it for other people and perform for other people and sell your music, then you've entered the music business. You're no longer in music, and it's not a passion anymore. It starts to become a profession. And there are a lot of pitfalls for young artists to fall into when you try to make that leap from a passion to a profession. And I like guiding and navigating artists that I believe are deserving, that are talented, that have a place in the marketplace, I believe in helping develop them so that they can reach their full potential. But those artists are very rare and few and far between. But I'm looking for them. I do travel back and forth to LA quite a bit, and a lot of people ask me, what do I prefer? Do I like Nashville better than Los Angeles, or Los Angeles better than Nashville? And the answer to that question is, honestly, I love both of them. You know, Nashville's my home. This is where we live. I travel back and forth a lot. I will say, and it's not a popular thing to say, and other people have had different experiences, but I find that people in LA are more willing to work together and to me have a little bit more of a team atmosphere. And I don't know if that comes and stems from the movie business, where you don't have one person trying to do everything. People, they're used to working together. You know, on a movie set, you've got craft services, you've got gaffers, you've got sound people, camera people, production assistants, you've got makeup people. All these people come together, you know, to make one product. But in Nashville, I often feel that people are so worried about the person below them jumping them on the ladder of success that we don't have a team atmosphere. Everybody is out for themselves and really trying to protect the ground that they've made, and that to me is not conducive to teamwork. You know, one thing I find in Nashville is that nobody's doing what they want to be doing. I mean, you go sit down in a restaurant, it's a songwriter and artist, but they're waiting tables. They don't want to be doing what they're doing. I understand that, but even when you get further up the ladder, you talk to some really great songwriters in town. They don't want to be songwriters, they want to be artists. And then you get to the artist level, and the artist doesn't want to be an artist, they want to be an actor. Or you go to the publishing company, and the creative director at the publishing company doesn't want to be a creative director, they want to be a songwriter. I think it's that thing of nobody sets out to do what it is they're doing. And I understand everybody has goals, everybody has dreams. But I just find that in Los Angeles, it's easier to find people that want to work as a team and that really, truly want to collaborate. But I do love Nashville. I will say that when I first came to Nashville 15 years ago, that things were a lot different than they are now. As the genre of country music has changed, so has the personalities, attitude, and everything that goes into making this community. It has changed as well. Some things have changed for the better, and a lot of things, to me, have changed for the worse. But I've tried to do my job of creating a small circle around myself of people that I know are like-minded, that think the way that I think, that try to treat other people the way that I treat people and the way that I expect to be treated and respected. So I believe in creating circles. I believe in creating small circles. I don't have to write with 100 different people that I don't know to write a great song. I can pick up my phone and call one of 10 people, and I know that no matter what, we're gonna walk out of that room with a song that both of us are going to be proud of, and that we were on the same page. So I think it has changed. I love both. I mean, you can't beat the ocean. There's no ocean in Nashville. There's a lot of heat. So I love LA for the weather. I love LA for the larger opportunities. You know, in the last several years, I've gotten big into doing music for TV and film, which Nashville is way behind. They're trying to come up in that area and do better, but that's something I really do enjoy. I love writing songs for television shows and for feature films and things like that. So that out there in Los Angeles gives me much more of an opportunity and connections to make that possible, because it actually is something that I really enjoy, that it's not really possible. Right now, Nashville's so focused on the old method of songwriter writes song, turns it into publishing company pitches it to artists and A&R at record labels, and everybody sits around and prays to God that the artist decides to cut your song. Then you have to pray that it actually goes on the album, and then to make any money, it has to go out as a single. And to me, that's just an archaic way. We have come so far with modern technology that there are so many ulterior methods to make money with your music and to actually find success. But you really have to think outside the box. And to me, Nashville is still a good old boys club, and they are very much want things in the box. The powers that be in Nashville are very comfortable with setting boundaries and boxes and putting things in those boxes. I feel in Los Angeles that people exist outside the box, and that's where I like to operate. You know, I was telling somebody the other day, in Nashville, there is a circle. The size of that circle never grows. The people that come in and out of that circle may change, but the size of it never changes. So it stays the same. And I, just as a philosophy with me in general, I've never wanted to be in that inner circle. I've always strived for the success that comes from being in that inner circle. But I've not ever been one of the type of people that would actually fit in that circle. I've always considered myself an outsider. And you know what, that's been a good thing, and it's been a bad thing. I'm more than honest about that. I know that the way that I approach things and my personality can turn a lot of people off. I'm just very blunt, I'm very truthful, I don't BS very well. And in the entertainment business, you need to be able to BS people pretty well. I'm sure that I can, but I just don't have an interest in doing that. I'd rather tell somebody what I actually think than saying something that I don't believe is true just so that it makes somebody else feel better. I think we can succeed more when we're just honest with each other. And so I was never really willing to do what it took to be on the inside of that circle. More power to the ones that are. That's a big goal for a lot of people that move to Nashville. They want to be on that inner circle. Because there is a lot that goes on that inner circle. If you want to be on the top artist records, you damn near have to be on that inside circle. It's just not something that I've ever wanted to be a part of. Like I said, it hasn't stopped me from succeeding in this business. If I would have been willing to kiss a little more ass, I probably would accomplish a lot more. But at 41 years old, I'm not going to change anytime soon. So Nashville or Los Angeles, I love both of them. Nashville's a great place to live. It's a great place to raise a family. Los Angeles is awesome with the beach and the TV and film thing. And to me, being a little bit more open to working as a team, which is kind of how I prefer things. But I really love both places. Where do I see music in 10 years? Man, that's a great question. I had somebody ask me 10 years ago where I would see music in 10 years, I would not be able to tell you that we would be where we are. I never saw us coming into a reality and realism where people honestly believe that music has no value. I just read a poll not long ago that like 80% of people that they asked thought that music should be free. And I don't understand that. I don't know why people are more than willing to walk into Starbucks and pay $6 for a cup of coffee that's gonna last 30, 45 minutes, but they won't spend 99 cents on a song that they can own forever. I don't understand what we've done as an industry to devalue our creativity and to devalue our work to the point where the public, by large, thinks that it doesn't have any value and that it should be free. So where it's going in 10 years, I don't know. I don't know if that excites me or if it's scary. If the next 10 years goes anything like the last 10 years, I would have to err on the side of being a little frightful and being a little scared at where we might go. I said earlier that music is an evolution. I hope that over this next 10 years, that music comes back around to a point where people actually place a value on it, where people value the creators, they value the songwriters, the producers, the engineers, the musicians, that they appreciate everything that goes in to making a product, both financially and emotionally and physically. You know, an artist that's coming out with a project that has written and been in the studio, it is not a cheap endeavor, and it's not cheap emotionally, and it's not cheap financially, and it's not cheap physically. There's a lot of work that goes into it. I'm hoping over the next 10 years that whatever it is that we need to do, we can somehow manage to get back to establishing a relationship with our music consumers to where they appreciate it enough to actually value it and actually pay for it. And when I say pay for it, I'm not talking about paying $9 a month to stream unlimited songs, unlimited amounts of time. And I know that's where it's heading. I read an article not long ago that said the iTunes store is not going to sell music, you know, much longer, that everything is going streaming. I hope that's not the case. I was hoping that when we start to see this revitalization of vinyl records, you can't stream a vinyl record, that maybe it's starting to happen. Maybe an appreciation for this art form, you know, is coming back and will come back over the next 10 years. You know, when you think about other types of art form, they are much more protected and almost valued to me over music. You know, when you think of an artist, a painter, you can't stream that painting. You know, I guess people can make copies of it and sell it, but there's still a value there. There's still a value of somebody admiring an artist and buying a piece of their artwork and taking it home and putting it on their wall. And I just come from a time period where I remember that people actually valued walking into a store and buying that CD and taking it and putting it in their CD player. That to me is the same thing as somebody buying a piece of artwork and hanging it on the wall. I can promise you that we as the creators think that much of our work. We just want to get to a point where other people appreciate it and value it as much as we do. And you know, I hear all the time, everybody on the other side of this argument says it's just about money. And honest to God, it's not about money. Yes, all of us songwriters and producers, we have families we have to feed. This is how we provide for our family. So yes, we want to live the best possible quality of life, and we want to give that to our kids and to our families. But also on an emotional level, if every songwriter or artist would ever just be truly honest, the reason we got into this in the first place was because we wanted that to feel that appreciation and that admiration from other people. We wanted somebody to listen to or look at our work that we've created, that came from within us, and look at us and go, that's amazing. That's why we do this. That's why we got into this business, is because we wanted, and we have a need and a hole as creatives in us that needs that love and admiration from other people. So when you go for any stretch or amount of time where you feel like people don't value your product and they don't value your creation, it's a hard thing. And quite honestly, that's why every creative I know deals with depression. It's also why I love doing songwriter rounds and things like that, because you can go and sit down and play a song that you've written that means something to you to an audience that is completely captive. And to hear those people come up to you afterwards and tell you how much this particular song meant to them, or they heard this song on the radio, or I've even had people come up to me, they heard a song that I wrote that was a huge hit in another country, but for some reason it's always playing in Macy's and Dillard's. Anytime you're in there, you can hear it. And I've had people come up to me and say, I was shopping in Macy's and I was having a bad day in this song and I heard it and I found out you wrote it and just wanted you to know how much that meant to me. That's why we do this. Yeah, it's about money because we have families and it's providing for them. But that person looking at us saying, this song meant the world to me at this moment in my life, thank you. That's what it's really all about. So I hope in 10 years, we have a lot more of that going on. And we start to see that value and appreciation come back, and further build and develop a better relationship between artists and consumers. I got to be honest with you, I think that social media is just about everything these days. I think whether you're an artist or you're a songwriter or creator of any type, if you aren't highly engaged in social media and know how it works, I think you're going to be really behind the 8 ball. I mean, I know over the last couple of years for me that, you know, a lot of people have found me through social media, either to produce records for them or consult their company for branding purposes, or publishing companies and things like that. Because, you know, if you're lucky enough as a songwriter to have a song out on the radio, or a producer, you know, the radio disc jockeys don't announce who the songwriters were or who the producer of the record was. So you don't get a lot of credit. It's not a lot of public knowledge. So social media has been an awesome way for producers and songwriters like myself to kind of connect those dots and engage with people, and allow those people to engage with us and find us. Because believe it or not, there are people out there that care and that are interested as to who wrote this particular song or who produced this particular song. So, you know, to me, I have found that that's been the best value of social media. The artists that I consult or that I'm developing myself, we place a very high emphasis on social media. You know, especially as an independent artist, the things that the major label system used to have on independent artists and over independent artists were distribution and radio. And now those walls are gone. You know, less and less people are listening to the radio. But even more important than that, that's not the #1 place that people are actually discovering music anymore. People are discovering music on YouTube and on Spotify and different streaming outlets. And, you know, that's an important thing. Distribution-wise, you can sit down with a guitar and write a song one day, record it the next day, and have it on iTunes available the next day. So, you know, I think that's important with those walls being torn down and being able to take your product as an artist or a creator directly to potential fans. I think that's amazing. And if social media weren't there, all those old rules would still be in place. And to have an opportunity to find any kind of success whatsoever would be very difficult, because it would have to go through a traditional channel. I also think that social media can be a very bad thing. But it's with anything, you know, anything good has something bad that comes along with it. I think you have to know how to set parameters and lines and guidelines for how you use social media. As parents, I think it's important that we monitor what our kids are seeing, because the bad side about those walls being torn down is that anything can come in or out. So I think it's a very powerful and very useful tool. It's also a very powerful and useful weapon. And I think that it is up to the person and the intent of the person, the heart of the person, and the mind of the person that's using it to say, I'm either going to use it as a tool or I'm going to use it as a weapon. And I like to use it as a tool. I like for my artists to use it as a tool. It's very valuable. It can help an artist or creator build an engaged fan base rather quickly. And I preach success. I don't preach fame. I don't work with artists that want to be famous. To me, fame is a byproduct of success. So if you want that, you can certainly aim for that. But to me, success is more easily obtained and retained long term, more so than fame any day. You know, it is completely possible to achieve success without fame, and it is equally as possible to achieve fame without success. So every artist that I work with, our goal is success. And different artists have different definitions of how they define success. But the first step when I develop an artist or when I'm working with an artist is I ask them that question. Do you want to be successful or famous? And if you want to be successful, how do you define it? So social media, I think, is a great thing. I think it opens doors, and it tears down those traditional walls of distribution and connection, and having that one-on-one connection with potential fans. And that way, I think it's great. But like I said, it all depends on whether you're using it as a tool or a weapon. And these days, a lot of people are using it as a weapon. And that actually makes it difficult at times, as open as it is, for an artist to break through. Because you've got to kind of wade through that mud and that crap that's sitting right on the surface. But if you're persistent and consistent, and you do that, and you have a right heart about it and a right mind about it, and you want to use it as a successful tool, I think it's very powerful, and I think it's awesome. And I just think you have to be careful.
Gather up, you weary souls. Show them you ain't dead. Tell them you ain't coming home. Woo!